Welcome to Queer on the Paso, episode 27, Family, Food, and Gratitude.
The recent government shutdown has shown a bright spotlight on food insecurity. While some families' SNAP benefits are being reduced or cut altogether, many organizations and community groups have stepped up to help provide helping hands.
In addition to the myriad of services and events at the Borderland Rainbow Center for the LGBTQ community, the BRC helps alleviate hunger in the El Paso community in an environment of respect, care, and hospitality. The Food Pantry serves everyone from low-income families, single parents, senior citizens, unemployed individuals, disabled veterans, working poor, and anyone else that comes to the pantry, and they need your help.
Our guests today are Amber Perez, Executive Director of the Borderland Rainbow Center, and Julie Lucas, Director of the Food Pantry at the BRC. Amber, Julie, welcome to Queer on the El Paso.
Hi,
Thank you for having us. It's always great to be with y'all.
You know, one thing that we've always touted about how proud our El Paso should be is the incredible work the Borderland Rainbow Center is doing. So tell us now how, in addition to how you all decided to open the food pantry to help the El Paso community, specifically this neighborhood, it would seem, what led to that decision and what were the steps that you all took that got you started on that journey?
Well, actually, it started when the Borderland Rainbow Center was founded, 9 years ago? 9 years ago. The founder, Brenda Risch, she said that we're definitely going to have a food pantry. We were in a little 2-bedroom duplex. I would go to Food City and pick up their discarded produce, and sometimes they'd give us bread and stuff, and people would bring. We had a guy, Taz, who'd show up with a truckload of canned goods. Don't know where they came from, and I was running the pantry out of a tiny little bedroom, and we did it, I think, once or twice a week, and it just continued on. And then we moved over here. We were doing it 2 days a week. I think we only had about 75 clients. You know, it was. That's
easy. After you moved here, Julia. How did people find out about the food pantry out of this small bedroom in a duplex? How did that start?
It honestly, I don't know. I was a volunteer at the time, and I was like painting walls and knocking down stuff, and word of mouth. It's amazing. The word of mouth came out. One time we had a van from one of the women's battered women's shelters come in, and I just opened the door and said, "Go shop." And Brenda's in there going, "Don't give away the farm, Julie." And because she knew me so well. But word of mouth spread. And I guess through some of the queer community knew about it. I really couldn't tell you how word of mouth got around. But then some of our clients followed us from here. And then when we hooked up with the food bank, El Pasoans Fighting Hunger, then they listed us as a partner agency. So we were always listed on their websites. You know, you can go pick up food here, and here. And it's just taken off from there.
So now, mentioning your partnership with El Pasoans Fighting Hunger,
yes.
Do they help provide some of the resources? Yes.
Yes. I'd say 98% of our food.
I see.
And it's free from them. Unfortunately, they lost a lot of their funding in March with the new administration. They lost a lot of funding, and they just weren't getting the stuff they needed. And so it was pretty slim pickings there for a while. And we've changed our schedule, our distribution schedule, to try to fit what we have, and we've been able to. We had some extra, and we're able to have an extra day. But now we're having to go to 2 days a week. But yes, all of our food we distribute every 2 weeks, so it's twice a month. We go every week to pick up food, because you don't know if you're going to get a box of condoms and some hand sanitizer like one of our other partner agencies got once.
Wow.
Or if you're
that's not necessarily edible.
Yeah,
right.
You're going to get a pallet full of cucumbers. So,
That's interesting. So, but then in addition to the some of the provisions that you all are able to secure through El Pasoans Fighting Hunger,
yes,
you rely on the community at large to help make food donations to this location here at the Borderland Rainbow Center.
Yes. We have some very, very generous and loving friends that contribute every month. Money wise, that helps so much. We also have people that will drop food off like when they're moving and things, and that's okay. But sometimes you don't need a can of cream of celery soup from 1985.
Right. Yeah, very specific ingredients.
Yes.
To that end, on our website, queeronda.com, you'll be able to find a list of some of the most useful items that not just this food bank, but almost all food banks across the country kind of agree that are the better things. But Julius, walk us through that. Tell us a little bit about what is in high demand, what goes very quickly, what makes the biggest difference in the lives of the families that you help.
Well, in El Paso, we always will pack rice and beans because it's a staple. Rice is a staple in just about every culture in the world. But you got to have rice, you got to have beans. There's times when the food bank didn't have it. Fortunately, if we have enough donations, can go to restaurant supply stores and buy huge bags of, 50-pound bags of rice for a great price and just divide it up. Give that out. So we always like to have beans and rice. Canned vegetables are good to have. You get your rice, you throw a thing of mixed vegetables in there, and it just oomphs up the nutritional value of it. Proteins are nice. A lot of people give tuna, but let me tell you, canned chicken is a lot more versatile. And a lot more kids will eat canned chicken than they would tuna.
Good to know.
Yeah. The shelf stable or the milks are nice. People give us a lot of mac and cheese. If you don't have milk, you don't have oil or butter, that mac and cheese can be pretty sad. So, with powdered milk, I've had powdered milk and it's not real good, but if you're using it to make mac and cheese, it's great.
Right.
Or pouring it on your cereal in the morning. So that's good. Cookies, man. Mm-hmm. Why can't kids have cookies? You got to bring some joy, you know? And we have Girl Scout troops that at the end of their sales will just drop off cases and cases of Girl Scout cookies, and our clients are so happy, It's
a very big treat for them, I would seem.
It really
because,
is.
Sure, it's a treat for me, too. I wouldn't mind a cookie right about now. But, but certainly, school-age children, it's wonderful to have that to offer them. Sure. So mostly it's shelf-stable items, not really fresh produce or anything like that. And you had mentioned that you do have room and a freezer space, but it needs to be probably mostly dry goods, that sort of thing, and then just a little bit of the more fresh ingredients kind of thrown in.
So the fresh ingredients, what they can do is if they donate cash, we can turn around and we can get great deals at the restaurant supply stores. I can go buy a 40-pound case of chicken for about $30. And it's the leg and thigh things, but I can get 6 bags out of one of those.
6 distribution bags.
For distribution, which is usually 2 or 3 of those quarters. Mm-hmm. And it's great for soup, whatever. But fresh produce, we have a wonderful man at one of the big produce companies. For a while there, we would go and pick up his, what he called the number 2s or the seconds. Right. Uh-huh. And we would get those and we'd get some great stuff. And then we'd get this wild stuff that I was having to Google and explain to our clients, this is how you eat this, But we've gotten too big for that because it's very labor intensive.
Right.
And there's not enough. Mm-hmm. But when I do go to buy produce from him, like when the food bank doesn't have any, they've been having a lot of produce the past month. But when they don't have a lot and I go to, he gives it to me for cost. So money helps too.
So about that, so they could, can they donate electronically? Do they write a check? Do they bring you cash?
Any of those, all of those. We'll take
all of the above. Good. Okay. And they just earmark it for the food bank.
Food pantry.
At the Borderland Food Pantry. Excuse me.
Pantry.
Food Pantry at the Borderland Rainbow Center.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. So talk a little bit more about the history of how that kind of changed the dynamic here at the Borderland Rainbow Center. We were talking a little bit earlier off mic about how it helps to integrate the entire community. You have people that are in the LGBTQ spectrum interfacing with people from the community that are, just neighbors and friends. And
I think so. I think one of the best things about the food pantry, like what you're talking about here, is the fact that it gives the opportunity for the queer community to have a safe space to volunteer, but also an opportunity for people who are in need, normally from a different socioeconomic background, normally primarily Spanish speakers, who oftentimes don't have that type of interaction with out loud, proud queer and trans people, right? To have the ability to come in and be served, right? To with dignity from people who they have not had a chance to interact with before. So there's this kind of cultural melding that happens with the food pantry where we can legitimately see people kind of open up, I think.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it exposes people to something that they wouldn't normally see. And I think it brings about a mutual respect. We have quite a few, I have a few transgender volunteers, and some of them are, just starting out and they don't pass, but they know that they can be themselves here, and if they were anybody else, I wouldn't want them around. But you see these, I'm not going to say the abuelas, because the abuelas are cool,
that comes from the territory of being an abuela.
Right?
They're
you
cool
have to
no
be.
matter what.
You don't mess with those moms.
That's exactly right.
They'll be telling us, "Where's your coat?" But like a 40-year-old construction worker, and you can kind of see them standing there, and I've got my volunteers are going back and forth and making their baskets full of food and stuff, and you can kind of see them, and after like their second, third time, they're just like, hey, hey, Joy, how you doing? They get to see that these people are not monsters, and they're not scary, and that they're
volunteering to help.
They're volunteering to help, and I tell you, volunteers are my favorite humans in the whole world.
And it also it engenders this kind of commonality between the straight community and the gay community, that we're all in this together. I love that about the food pantry, is that it kind of brings it's very harmony, very very 1960s kumbaya. Yeah, exactly.
It is heartwarming, and because I think that you all shared with me that only a very small percentage of the people that come to receive food from your food pantry are LGBTQ. More than anything, they are actually being helped by LGBTQ people, which is an incredible dynamic. And as you say, Amber, is a great way to kind of create that interaction within the community, all in a very loving, kind of a grateful environment.
Oh, yes.
Well, and I think so. Some of the things that are the most amazing, I think, and we don't really talk about enough, is how the food pantry puts together their distribution. They are very, very, very aware of what is important. Julie talked a little bit about how there's rice and beans because it's also culturally appropriate. There's thought that goes into this. There's the canned food. There's always a protein as well. You don't come to our pantry and end up with 6 cases of sardines. I don't know how many of you have ever gone to a food pantry and ended up with 6 cases of sardines and like 2 tomatoes, and you're like, what am I doing with this?
It's like a bad episode of Chopped.
Very much.
Well, Chef Luis Orozco is the manager of the pantry. He's a retired chef. He was a chef for 46 years. You can't have a better guy running the food pantry.
Absolutely.
And every week we get together and we have criteria. You have to have a protein. You have to have the carb, which is the rice. The bean is also a protein, but we try to get them a nice frozen meat or something like that. Any produce that we can give them, but it's enough to at least make one good meal.
Exactly.
And that's when we're open every week. We're going to look to see if we can't do it, since we're going every 2 weeks, give them 2 good meals. That takes food,
Right.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why we wanted to bring this issue to light. Not that it hasn't been in the news with all of this SNAP benefits being withheld and the government shut down. But irrespective of that, there is a great need in our community. There are lots of families that are food insecure. And I know that El Pasoans Fighting Hunger has done a remarkable job with the resources that they have. And they certainly are a great example. And it's wonderful that they've created this network, including the food pantry here at the Borderland Rainbow Center. But what have we learned from this most recent experience with the government shutdown about food insecurity in our own community?
That we're all one step away.
Yes.
Exactly. There are people who are young professionals even, who are literally one step away from having no food.
Yeah.
And it's terrible.
It is. And when we do an intake, we have a software program that is through the food bank. And once you register with us, you're registered with all of the food banks in El Paso County. So you just go and show your little tab. But one of the questions we ask is, do you receive SNAP? Do you receive Medicaid? Those are automatic qualifiers for the program that we are under. It's called the Emergency Food. It's TFAP, Emergency Food Program, and it's a federal program. But they automatically qualify. There are some income qualifications that you have to have. But so I asked people, okay, so do you get SNAP? Family of 3. Yeah, I get $20 a month.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that $20, you know? Well, I guess you could just go buy a bunch of ramen noodles, which ramen noodles aren't that bad. So you don't have a bunch of spices at home, but you got your ramen. You cook those noodles, you open your can of chicken that somebody has so gratefully donated, and you've got that spice pack, and you can make some stuff.
Yeah.
They're really not that bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, ask any college student and they will tell you.
Absolutely. I found that a little soy sauce in that, and you've got an Asian dish automatically.
Sure.
Yeah.
But to be able to give spices out to people, and we've looked into it, and I could go to Restaurant Depot and I could buy a box of oregano like this, right? But then putting it in baggies and have the DEA coming down.
It's hard to get volunteers for that.
But if 400 people came and gave me a set of salt and peppers, that'd be great. You know, just one set of salt and peppers. You know, those ones you get at the dollar store. That would be so cool. So cool.
Stuff we take for granted.
Yeah. Exactly. Cooking oil. Things like that.
Something that's real easy to throw into a little extra into your shopping cart when you're at the grocery store.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So now about the type of food that people can help donate, it's money. Is certainly always welcome.
Yes.
Because you all are able to administer that very easily and ascertain what your real needs are at that from a particular distribution day to the other. You are able to help kind of accommodate that. Then there's direct donation. People wanted to pick up a case of canned peas and canned corn and that sort of thing. They can bring that here to the location here on Wyoming.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then most interestingly enough, what I think that you had mentioned, that one of the things that is also in need is time. People's time. Volunteers. What kind of volunteer? What would a volunteer experience look like at the food pantry? What is that like?
Well, we do have a process. We have our volunteer coordinator, Diana Martinez, and she works very hard to try to get us. It's difficult to get volunteers because of our hours, which are during work days. You know, we're Monday through Friday during the work day. And I know that that's hard. So we end up with a bunch of retirees, and we have what we call the geezer squad. And I'll tell you what, some of those geezers, I'm not including myself in that, but some of those geezers will work circles around you, you know, but it's labor intensive. You noticed you came down those stairs, right? When we go to the food bank and we pick up that big van out there, and I've got 3 pallets of food. It's got to get downstairs somehow. So we've devised this cool ramp system that we do. So, but somebody's got to pitch, and then we have catchers. Sorry, y'all. So you pitch or you catch.
Well, I think there are a lot of gay men that understand that.
Yes.
But
I know that. But so and then sometimes we have to take huge 50-pound bags of rice, which is an easy job. I can do it. Scooping rice into a bag and tying it up, and, you know, stuff like that. But then on Monday mornings, tell him Izzy has volunteered with us. All that food down here has to get upstairs in the parking lot for distribution.
Yeah, I want to point out that we are actually recording in the storage space for the food pantry, which is just across the parking lot of the Borderland Rainbow Center. And so you go down a flight of stairs, and we're kind of in this basement, subterranean type level. But we're also surrounded by crates of food. And so it somehow needs to see the light of day when it's time for you all to give this to needy families.
Yes.
So that requires physical bodies here helping.
Physical bodies.
And whether you're a geezer or not, there are lots of ways that you can help.
There's a lot of ways that the geezers can help. You know, there's things that you can do. Like I said, you can bag rice. You can, we use grocery bags. People bring us their used Walmart and Albertsons grocery bags, and we use those. We put all of our basic, we call them the white bags, the grocery bags, with the basics, the canned goods, the rice, the beans, all that stuff is going to go in there. Everybody's going to get one of those. But we double bag it. So you can sit there and make double bags, you know? I have some people, like I've cut one woman who's blown out her hand, and she can make double bags. I'll always find something that somebody can do.
Always a job to be done.
And there's a great system amongst the volunteers. One will hand up, because I volunteer here, so one will hand up over those stairs and the banisters and stuff like that. So, and there will be somebody up above gathering it and handing it over to another volunteer who then starts placing it into all of the compartments. Yeah. So we all work in tandem. It's a really great operation that we have going on here.
I want to point out that Izzy is a board member here at the Borderland Rainbow Center, and I know that you were involved even before you became a board member. What have you gained personally from this particular aspect of your duty as a board member, or as a volunteer, I should say, at the Food Pantry? What have you learned from your experiences?
What I've learned, I think there's nothing more beautiful in this world. Now, mind you, I love to eat. Out of all of the vices that I've been able to kick, eating is one of the ones, and overeating is one of the ones that I still gladly indulge in. When I think about people that are suffering or thinking twice about whether they should eat this or that, or maybe that should go to the kids and I'll go without. When I think about that and think about going up and down those stairs and some of the boxes are a little dirty sometimes, because they're on floors and things like that, and you think, oh God, what I'm doing here is fundamental, but it's really super important. I can't tell you how beautiful it is to give something so basic and so essential. Just think, if you did not have food on your table.
Oh yeah, I've never.
How would that feel?
I personally have never gone hungry.
Yeah.
When you marry a cook, but
that might happen.
Yeah.
Kind of lucked out on that one.
Things too, you were asking me about when we very first started, and after that first pantry day where the ladies from the Battered Women's Center came in, after they left, I stood out in the parking lot, smoked a cigarette, and cried because it felt so good. I felt like, wow, I did something good for somebody today. I did something good for quite a few people, and I love this. And 9 years later, here I'm still here.
That's a very good point. I think one of the things that just volunteering in itself is its own reward.
It is.
Because
it really is.
It takes you out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
It gets your hands busy doing work that you may not be familiar doing. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, at the end of the day, you can say, I made a difference.
Yes.
There's somebody that is making dinner right now because of part of the effort that I put forth in the community. And it's something that each and every one of us can do.
And there's something else about volunteering that I think is really important, and it's big for me. And that is, it really reduces your ego. I spend a lot of time thinking about myself and my little problems and everything. But when you're volunteering and doing for others, all of that mess goes out of your head and you think, wow, okay, you know what? It's not so bad for me. And I am doing something brilliant for somebody else. Yes, and it costs me nothing but time.
And we're not out there with our Instagrams saying, look, here, I'm going to give this homeless man $5. All that kind of stuff. Ugh. So when I see stuff like that, I just want to comment, hey, I've got a food pantry. Why don't you all come down? But I don't want to embarrass the Borderland Rainbow Center. So I try to not comment on things like that. Like right now, FitFam and 915 on Blast, all those things are posting up where to get food. Mm-hmm. And they have these specific sites, and a lot of people were complaining about the food bank and how long the lines are. And this one person was like, well, what can you do to make the lines go away? I said, well, you could go volunteer. For every two hands, it just gets people through that line a lot quicker. Yeah.
That's interesting. So now, can we talk a little bit about, do you notice any changes in seasonal changes, like any increased demand, summer, winter? I mean, we're getting ready to enter the holidays. Thanksgiving's coming. It is the big feast day in this country. Everybody thinks about food. Yeah. Do you perceive that there's anything that is kind of seasonal in terms of, do you see more donations at during the Thanksgiving?
Always. So in November, they start trickling in, and it's funny that we're doing a food drive. We probably should have started the food drive a few months ago because this is normal. Yeah. All these big corporations, all the government offices, they have contest to see which office can provide the most. We've gone to the DA's office before to pick up stuff. We're gonna have an influx of canned goods, and that's really cool. If you like canned pumpkin and green beans, we just get a lot of canned pumpkin and green beans, but we give it out. Canned pumpkin, you can do amazing things with canned pumpkin. You can make a nice soup. You can make a cheesecake if you were so inclined.
Right. No, that's true. It's a very versatile ingredient. And you can even give it to your dogs if they have health issues.
I used to give my dog some.
Since we're talking about dogs, though, too, I think one of the things that we need to remember for our food pantry is that we also give out dog food and cat food when we have it. It's because we understand that this is about the whole family.
Yes.
So we try to make sure that we're serving the people what they need.
Yeah, and the dogs are their families. I just lost my dog a year ago, and she was my baby. But years ago, I was talking to one of our clients, and I gave him a bag of rice, and he goes, "Oh, good, I'll use this to feed my dogs." And I was like, "Dude, no way. That's, first of all, it's not going to be nutritious enough for your dogs. You probably need to eat that yourself." But so we used to be able to pick up, some of the pet food stores would give away the stuff that had been torn open or something. And we used to be able to pick that up from the food bank. I'm not sure whether we still have that or not, if we can get that. But
anyone listening works with Pets Barn.
Pets Barn.
Or even if you're picking up food for your dogs, a few extra cans go a long way for somebody.
Bags of dog food are great. They bring bags. We divide it up. We put it out. And people ask me every week. And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm out." But when we have it, man, I love to give it out.
And I think another thing, as I was thinking about doing this interview, and I think, you know what? It would be really great and a nice challenge for the community is to get offices and those kinds of things to start organizing food receptacles that the employees can bring in things, and have a pet section. I guarantee you everybody in the office has a pet that they love and care for, and they'll think, "Oh yeah, that's right."
That's a good point, is it? Even if we were to kind of break down the goals, I serve on the board of the El Paso Association of Builders, and every year we do Thanksgiving dinner baskets for needy families.
Nice.
And it's a wonderful project, and we get a great deal of satisfaction out of it. And all of our members come together and they donate either money or put their time and effort together to put these baskets together, standardized baskets. But that's one of the reasons why I was asking about this seasonal effort, because you know what? Thanksgiving is once a year, and that's wonderful and it's great.
Yes.
But come December, come January, come February, in the middle of summer, the need does not end.
Exactly.
And so this is a good time to get people to start thinking about donating food
for
February. Traditionally, February's tough. It's tough from the food bank. Okay, our food bank, they get a very small percentage that they buy from the USDA. Most of our food bank's food comes from corporate donations. They start to really dry around February. And so we are really starting to hurt in February. And so a food drive in February is awesome.
January for February.
Yeah.
I think that the takeaway here is that this is a program that's not going anywhere, that we know that the need will always be in our community. There will always be families and animals and people in need. And so we, as an LGBTQ community, need to understand that part of being accepted by our community is to become good citizens and to donate money, time, and products.
Yes.
And we are certainly capable of doing that. So tell us a little bit more about some of the challenges that you all are seeing right now with the food pantry.
Volunteers right now.
Yeah, volunteers. And to be perfectly honest with you, things are so unstable at the food pantry, at the food bank, that it is difficult for us to really know what's coming. As far as I'm concerned, no matter what, we will always find money to buy food.
Yes. We'll always have something.
I come from food insecurity. I know what it's like to go hungry. It's and I never want anyone to go hungry again.
Yeah.
And so it is incredibly important to myself, and I know to the board as well, and to all of our employees, and to our volunteers, that nobody goes hungry. And even if the food bank is empty, we will buy the food that needs to be done, if that means that we donate the money.
I've got 2 kidneys. All good can go sell the kidneys. We can go buy 3,000 pounds of fries.
In my younger days, I'd offer to walk the streets, but I'm afraid that might get a banana peel.
I didn't even pick that off.
The commodities are not that great.
No, there's an audience for that. Yeah, Daddy. No, but really, we can always get the food. But if I don't have the bodies to get the food from down here to up there, it's hard. And it makes the line slow. And then people, we had one fellow really just getting 99.9% of the clients are very gracious and very respectful, because my rule, I have very few rules. We're just a bunch of scallywags and pirates down here.
Yes.
But my one rule is you treat clients with dignity and respect, because you're one blown transmission away from being in that line.
Isn't that the absolute truth? And Amber, thank you for sharing, because there is a stigma attached to food insecurity.
Sure.
Nobody wants to voluntarily admit that they came from experiences. But I myself, my father in the 80s had his benefits taken away from him. So there were times where I remember opening up the refrigerator and there was a small piece of cheddar cheese and nothing else. And if anybody knew me out on the street, they would be very surprised to hear that. And I share it quite publicly because, what we have to understand is that there are very few degrees of separation between food insecurity and now that I'm overweight and now want to be on a diet all the time. So I have more than cheddar cheese to eat at home. But I don't ever want to forget those times that I didn't.
Sure. So then you can make sure that somebody else doesn't have to go through what you did. And that's wonderful that so many people learn from those lessons, but people are scared. People are frustrated, and you go and you stand in our line. And how long do you think that line is about? I know we open at 9 o'clock. Yeah. If we're ready, we'll open at 9 o'clock. Yes. Sometimes we'll open early. I've got people that have been in that line since 6 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely. When I arrive, there's already a line formed.
Yeah. And then there's a line of the cars, because we do walkers and cars. And so we let the walkers come in first. And I know, and that line just stays and stays and stays. Sometimes it'll go almost to Piedras.
Yeah.
And one fella got in and he was upset that he had to wait so long. He said that we were being effing inefficient. And then, unfortunately, I was not there, but my volunteers do not need to put up with that. I won't. Only I get to cuss at the volunteers. But, we had to calm him down and say, look, man, I understand. We're all doing the best that we can. And, I tried to show them the setup, how, so these guys got to run downstairs and grab a 50-pound crate of those grocery bags that we've packed for you. And sometimes they get a little tired after doing that for 3 hours, So I just need you to be patient. You just got to be patient and bear with us.
I would hope that those experiences are few and far between. It would seem to me that you all benefit from extreme gratitude from the people that you help.
Oh, gosh, yes. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's the only reason why I do that is because I love, these are my family. These are my people. I've known some of these clients for years and years. I've known some of our volunteers for years and years. Our volunteers are where we are, and staff, all the staff. We are just a big, happy family. Okay. A big dysfunctional family.
In other words,
a normal
family.
Yeah. We're healthy. I'm going to tell you. We're healthy.
Well, and I have to tell you that I just love because Julie, processes people in the front when that's the first person you see, and she knows that some of these clients so well. She's like, "Hello, mamacita, how are you?" Blah blah blah. She goes on and on. She can carry on in Spanglish with all of these.
Spanglish, yeah.
Julie, let me ask you. So now, is it a mix of people from from your immediate neighborhood here in Central El Paso, or is it from all over the city?
I'd say we have a large percentage of from our immediate area, or central at least. But they come from all over.
Mm-hmm.
I've got people from Socorro. I've got people from Horizon. I've got people from Anthony. They come from all over. A lot of our people are on buses, and so we're mindful of when we're packing their bags. They have their granny card. If they don't have a granny card, I wish I could buy everybody a granny card.
Yeah.
But, they come with their granny card, and we don't want to load them up because they're going to have to take that and get it up on the bus.
Right.
So we got to be mindful of that. And, you want to feed them, but you don't want to overload them. But then, like I say, they're abuelas and they could take 500-pound bags.
And I want to highlight something about that, right, is the fact that we do have people coming from kind of all over the city, which speaks to what the food pantry itself is doing when it is creating the distribution bags. There was a time when I was talking to somebody who was working with one of the representatives, and I was telling her it was one of the times, the lean times, and trying to just talk and get money, right? And she said, we'll do whatever we need to do to help the food pantry because my family has used it. And it's like, you will make sure that we get good food.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
We do. We get pallets of produce, and we literally get a ton of potatoes. It comes in this big white sack, and it's in that van, and we sit in the parking lot, and I've got such a badass crew that we can process 2,000 pounds of potatoes in 2.5 hours. And that means going through, throwing out the rotten ones, putting, 20 in a bag. Mm-hmm. You don't want to make it too heavy. You don't want to make it to where it's going to spoil before they can use it. We get that done in 2.5 hours, but we go through our things. I have seen photos of other pantries, I will not name any names, where people are handed an entire case of tomatoes. And out of that case of tomatoes, there's 2 good ones.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But that becomes the client's problem.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have the resource. They don't want to carry this rotten case of tomatoes out on the bus.
Right.
We go through the stuff. We bag it up, and we hope and pray that it lasts until our distribution date.
I think that's one of the things that's true of the spirit of the Borderland Rainbow Center and its place in the community is that everything is done with great heart, with thoughtfulness in mind, and with dignity.
Yes.
To preserve the dignity of both volunteers and the patrons, the people that come that actually need help. And I think that is the ethos of this particular organization. And that's probably what makes it such a great hub, not just for the LGBT community, but for the entire community.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we try to take care of our people. I mean, it's like, what do I always say? Is when we get there's absolutely no respect amongst the volunteers, but there's a lot of love.
Yeah. Well, see, that's family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you just described.
Yes, we do. I love Chef and Randy's banter back and forth. They really go at each other, and it's all loving and everything, but it's rough.
I know. And then Chef says, "Oh, I hurt my knee," and everybody's on him. Hey, okay, go sit down, do this, do that. Well, of course, he won't. But
no.
Well, and that's kind of the atmosphere that you want to create. You want to create a very bolstering atmosphere. You want we're all here to help. Yeah, and if that's obviously shows
we have
in the organization itself.
And to create family and community.
Right.
These are all the dynamics that so many of us didn't grow up with because we were young and queer.
Right.
Because we lost that family. And so now you come into the center, you come into the pantry, you come into these places, and the dynamic begins to kind of take over in your life. And you get to see people grow and grow into themselves and experience these new things like having siblings or having parents or having uncles and aunts. You know what I mean? Like, this is what the entire part of this is, to create like a brave space, right? Not just a safe space, the brave space.
I love that, a brave space. And one is that is cooperative. Mm-hmm. So it's both give and take.
Exactly.
Right.
I have
all of us have needs. Yes. It's particularly a young, a queer person that really doesn't have a place to call home. We all have needs, but at the same time, we all have something to give.
Yes, they do.
And I'm a firm believer in making sure that we do not build codependency. That is not what we do here. What we do is we create that brave space where people can begin to reach a little bit further than they would have if they didn't have us here. Because it's our job to make sure that they move up through that Maslow's hierarchy, and we're here to catch them if they need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But we're not going to hold them up each step of the way.
We're just
No, I love
let's
that.
go.
I love that. Yeah. I haven't thought of old Maslow and his hierarchy in a long time.
Old
day or
Maslow.
two since I went to
For one
good old
brief second in
Maslow.
my life, I would think that I'm self-actualized, and then I realize I'm not. But to that end, so a final call to our community.
Yes.
Food,
Yes, please.
time,
Yes, please.
money.
Yes, please.
Yes. And I think that that's something that we as a community can all band together and help through all the different organizations, through hearing this podcast and whatever else that we can do. Just know that the El Paso community should be extremely proud to have the Borderland Rainbow Center, its food pantry, serving our community.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm really proud of the El Paso community because when we put out a call, people step up. They do, and I am so grateful. And look, I'm getting overclamped, but we have a loving and generous community, and that's why I moved back here. I've lived out of El Paso for too long, and I came home, and it's like I'm so glad to be here.
It's a place all its own, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is, and it's a great place for an old white lady like me.
It's a great place for an old white man like me. I'm not white, really. but you can't see me, so we'll just go with that. Anyway,
There's a few white hairs.
that's exactly.
Yeah.
There's mostly
That's
white in town. Well, Amber, Julie, thank you for all your work. We wish you great success during the holiday season. We will continue to push everything that we can out on social media about creating, to reminding people to donate time, money, and resources
Yes.
to the
so
food
much.
to the food pantry here. So again, thank you all for your work and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So, you guys, I have to tell you that of the number of episodes that we've done, I've certainly become emotional on some particular episodes, especially when people are so kind enough to share their personal stories. But this one really got to me. I mean, to see the Borderland Rainbow Center, which is an organization like most organizations in El Paso that's got their own struggles and their own challenges, to open their doors and their hearts and to volunteer their time and resources to help feed families in need is truly inspiring.
Yeah, and I think it shows something about the LGBTQIA place in our community. You know, we are a shared experience here, and I think that this program and what they offer to the El Paso community on the whole shows that we are all in this together.
I agree. You know, one of the things about being in a minority, like however you want to categorize yourself, queer or trans or whatever, we also know what it's like to not feel included, to not feel like we're part of something greater. And then for us to turn around and open our hearts and our arms to other families is really just a great testament to the resilience of our spirit as a community.
Yeah, kind of the idea of from our family to your family, you know, we've got something in common. And I think if there's anything, food is such a common denominator. It's something that brings us all to a level playing field, whether you're queer, straight, or bi, or what have you. We all need food, you know, to exist, to live, to thrive, to be a total encompassing human being. And for some people to lack that, and then to have the gay community step up and say, "We've got you." I think that's an impressive, wonderful component of this food pantry.
And there's no mistaking that the two greatest driving forces behind this effort is Amber and Julie. Those two women are remarkable, and they are tireless, and they have such a great attitude about helping people, and their commitment to the organization is really something that, one, we as an entire community, not just the LGBTQ community, should be grateful for, but we should also show our support and thank them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the mama bearish kind of idea that Julie brings to it, and then Amber Smart's, the two combined are a powerhouse, and then really produce a really fine program into our El Paso community.
Every time I talk to those women, it makes me proud to know them. It makes me proud to be part of our community. So with that, we wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. We encourage you all to give what you can, whether it's money, time, or food. And we wish you all a great Thanksgiving and
I got it on the queers.
There are valuable ways for you to help the Borderland Rainbow Center and the Food Pantry at the BRC. You can give time by volunteering, money, which will be put to good use to help feed families in our neighborhood, or by donating foods. A list of these preferred foods can be found on our website at www.queeronda.com.
We'd love to hear from you. Email us at feedback@queeronda.com or visit our website and leave a comment. www.queeronda.com. That's www.queeronda.com.